Welcome back to Not Ready Yet, Curating Conversations for the Aging Journey. This is Lisa Harper, and this is the show that hopefully changes the conversations we have with our loved ones as they age. Today, we're diving into a topic that's both serious and urgent: falls among older adults. Did you know that 1 in 4 adults age 65 and older falls each year? That's about 14 million falls annually in the U.S. alone. And more than 3 million of those falls result in an emergency room visit, and of those, about 1 million lead to a hospitalization. And of those, 319,000 are hospitalized for hip fractures. So that's even more sobering to know that falls are the leading cause of injury and injury-related death for this age group. So falls aren't just a number. Those are a lot of numbers from the CDC. They're not just a number. Behind every fall is a family impacted and a life changed. That's why I'm so excited to welcome today's guest, Mark Conacher. Mark is the managing director of SENSTEC-USA and a passionate advocate for safer, smarter bathroom design, especially when it comes to slip prevention. With over 30 years in the kitchen and bath industry, Mark is bringing a European innovation, a patented anti-slip shower tray, to the U.S. market. He's also a member of the National Aging in Place Council and a co-author of the upcoming book, Aging in Place Conversations, the Caregivers edition. Today we'll talk about practical ways to reduce fall risk, how the bathroom plays a critical role in aging safely, and what we can all do, professionals and families alike, to better support those we love as they age. So let's get into it. Hello, Mark. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show.
Yes, it is. People are sometimes startled to hear those statistics, and I start with them because they are attention getting, because it's really something that is, in a lot of cases preventable, right? Sometimes we can't, but accidents are an accident for a reason. But if we can reduce the amount and have better things in place. So that's why I think it's just fascinating to learn more about this product that you guys have at SENSTEC-USA. You've had a fascinating journey from running a successful installation company in Scotland to now leading SENSTEC-USA. So what inspired you both professionally, personally, and, geographically to make all those moves?
I started my time as a carpenter, as a joiner, and worked in Dundee in Scotland. I decided to start a little business there, and from being with my journeyman and learning to be a carpenter, I found a love of working in people's homes, and that learning about the communication and how we could actually impact people's lives by what we actually did. That really surprised me, but I fell in love with it. And so when I started my own business, I got involved in installing kitchens and bathrooms. And yes, I worked away doing that for a number of years. But you know what, things happened. There was around about 2008, the end of 2008, we had a world financial crash. So that kind of unstabled my business. I lost a lot of work, a lot of money, but I managed to pick myself up, dust myself off, and get back into business again. My wife and I decided we'd have these conversations, but one of the conversations was, let's do something different and let's move somewhere different. So Vancouver in Canada became the place to move to. But because we were moving, I had this business, and there was a lot of people made a lot of money off of what I did. A lot of these subcontractors, people had mortgages and lifestyles based off that business. So rather than just walking away from the business, I decided to keep it going. And I put someone in place to run the day-to-day of the business and the installations that were going on. And meanwhile, when I moved to Vancouver, it allowed me to focus more on the business side of things and start building the brand. And from that, we won a lot of awards for what we did. We became a nationally recognised installation brand across the UK. And so that was something that led me into business. But you know what, things keep evolving, and I became hungry again. Just a couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to do something different, and I needed to get my teeth into something. And so, again, rather than upsetting the business and upsetting the people who were working in that business, I decided that I was maybe the problem and my hunger, and so I stepped away from the business altogether. And and a gentleman that I knew that called Christopher Hackett, who was managing director of a company called Classic Marble. Now, Classic Marble are the manufacturers of the SENSTEC anti-slip shower tray. And so with my installation business, I was already installing these products. So I knew the SENSTEC tray, and I knew how good it was, and just the feedback from those customers. And so when he learned that I'd stepped away from my business and I was looking for something new to do, he approached me and asked if I would be interested in spearheading bringing SENSTEC to the United States. And so that's where we are. We started a business, we set up distribution, we created our website. So that was right at the beginning of 2024. So about 18 months we've been going now. And so yeah, that's what brought us here, and that was my journey to SENSTEC.
Yeah, and so SENSTEC the anti-slip shower tray is gaining attention in the U.S. market. And I know, as we talked about the slip factor and all the wet spaces, right? The aging in place mindset of reduce the amount of obstacles that may incur some falls, right?
Yeah.
And so, can you tell us what makes the SENSTEC anti-slip shower tray different from, say, something they see on the internet or on TV? What makes this so different?
So any anti-slip shower tray, or even your tiles, really, when it's like that wet room style floor, what it is, it's a coating that's put on top of whatever it is. So if you have an anti-slip shower tray, it will have a coating on top of it that creates the anti-slip, or it will have a sticker on top of it that creates an anti-slip. And so, now that's great. Everybody should have anti-slip, no matter what kind of anti-slip. I'm a big advocate for that. But one of the slight problems with an anti-slip, a traditional anti-slip shower tray, or even like your tiles, is they start degrading. The minute you start using them, these applied coatings start degrading. And when they start degrading, dirt starts adhering to it, and it attracts the dirt. And so they become very difficult to keep clean. And so the reason that you slip in the shower or slip anywhere, it's not the surface, it's what ends up being in between your foot and the surface. So it's soap scum, it's grime, it's body oils, it's water, it's something in between the surface and your foot, and that's what creates the slip. So if you have an anti-slip shower tray that you can't keep clean, then that's a problem. And so everybody's seen it, that grimy, off yellow colour at the bottom of a shower tray, or even when your tiles and your grout lines all start going a bit funky. And so what people start doing to try and get that clean is they will start scrubbing at it. And so they'll scrub to try and get this clean. But when you scrub, you're just speeding up the process of breaking that anti-slip surface down. And so the other thing that people start doing is start putting chemicals onto the surface, to bleaches and things like that, to try and break down the dirt. But again, all that's doing is breaking down the coating that's on there, or the glues that are holding on the sticker. And so over a period of time, this is just getting worse and worse, and therefore it starts getting slippier and slippier. Now, if we stick with that anti-slip coating, now these anti-slip coatings should be replaced somewhere between 18 months and 3 years, something like that. They should be replaced all the time. I don't actually personally know anyone who's replaced the surface. That's not to say it doesn't happen. They'll be replaced all the time. But I don't actually know anyone that's done it. And so that tells me that it's not done very often. And normally when someone will replace an anti-slip surface, I'm going to guess it's going to be when someone slipped. And that forces the issue, which is normally the case. That's what's normally the case, that someone will go out and purchase an anti-slip shower tray because someone's had an extremely near miss, or they've slipped in the shower and hurt themselves. So we have these anti-slip surfaces, as I said, they need replaced. But when it's done in the factory and they put these coatings on, it's done in a sweep. So it's absolutely perfect. It's the same thickness from one side to the other. And it's all beautiful. It's all done really well. If someone does start replacing it in the home and they strip the coating off, and that could be a tradesman or it could be the homeowner themselves, it does tend to end up being a DIY project. when they do it and they start applying the coating, they don't actually know how thick the coating is that they're putting on. So it could be thicker in one area than it is in the other. And so you start getting all these discrepancies across the tray as to how actually anti-slip the tray is. Now, there are tests that you can test how anti-slip a tray is, but once you replace that in the space in a shower tray, you don't actually know. So you're going to have some areas that are really anti-slip and some areas that are maybe not quite as anti-slip. And it's that uncertainty that causes massive problems, especially when in your mind, as to I'm walking into this, am I going to be safe, am I not going to be safe? So when we take all of these issues, if you want, with traditional anti-slip shower trays, the classic marble, so classic marble, as I say, is the manufacturer of the SENSTEC anti-slip shower tray. They have a factory in a little village called Ballygolly in Northern Ireland. And so when shower trays became mass market, so there was a commodity item and there was all these shower trays flooding the markets. Well, that causes problems with price. But with classic marble, their shower trays, they were known for the quality of their shower trays. And so they were fine. The mass market initially didn't really touch them. And so then as the mass market carried on, they learned how to make them, produce volume, but also quite a high quality of tray that they were coming out with. So that's when it started impacting classic marble, because they didn't have that differentiator between the mass market and themselves. They just became the same, a commodity item. So they knew they had to do something. They either had to stop selling shower trays and making shower trays, or they had to come up with something that was unique and different. And that was the journey and the start of the SENSTEC anti-slip shower tray, digging into what could they do, how could they make the best anti-slip shower tray in the world. And so it took 42 different prototypes that they went through with the help of the aerospace tooling industry to come up with what we have right now with the SENSTEC tray. Now, could they have stopped with these at 30? Absolutely, but would it have been as good as prototype 42? No, it wouldn't have been. So the difference between the SENSTEC tray was, rather than applying a coating on top of a traditional shower tray, they decided to embed the anti-slip into the tray, but it was embedded through a series of patented dimples. I've got a little sample here, and I'll just show you on the camera. You can see the little raised dimples that are on the tray. And so what that does is that breaks the contact of your foot when you stand on it. And that's what gives you the traction when you stand on top of the tray.
And for those that are listening only, what that looks like is the dimples. I mean, I can see them elevated in just you holding that up. And it reminds me of, major intersections in the city. They'll have like a raised level, maybe for somebody that's visually impaired to know that it feels different and they may be approaching an intersection. It has that same look. I don't know if you've seen those, but here in Charlotte, we have intersections that have raised dimples as the slope of the sidewalk goes down. And that's what it reminds me of. I'm trying to give people a visual that are driving that can't see. But yeah, it's definitely visible even through the camera lens that there's a difference there.
Yeah, so this, and the beauty of this is these dimples. It's the height, shape, and spacing of these dimples that is the pattern. But what they do is, again, it breaks that contact with the foot and allows for the traction. But what it does is there's nothing that's able to be scrubbed off. It's part of the actual shower tray itself. So when you start cleaning that tray, which again, a dirty shower tray is a slippy shower tray. And so because this is so simple to keep clean, it's always anti-slip. And it doesn't matter whether it's day 1 or year 20, those dimples are not wearing off because they're actually part of the tray itself. The SENSTEC shower tray is a stone resin tray, so it's rock solid, and it has a gel coating that covers every single inch of that tray. And it's It's a smooth, the gel's a smooth, non-porous surface, which helps again with bacteria, repelling bacteria, things like that. And so what happens is with these dimples, again, the spacing and the shape of the dimples, when you have water that hits the surface, the water starts going down the channels in between these dimples, and that creates a vortex of water. And that vortex of water starts lifting any dirt that's on the surface and starts taking it towards the drain. So in essence, it's self-cleaning. It's cleaning itself as it goes along. So keeping the tray clean is massive. And so, but one of the side things that happened was when they were doing all the tests of the SENSTEC tray, the people who do the tests, it was a company in England, and the gentleman there took the owner aside and said, you know what, we test things day in, day out, and this is one of the most comfortable surfaces we've ever stood on, which that was quite a surprise. That was never an intention to create something exceptionally comfortable. But so they also had a user study carried out by the University of Ulster. And user studies always throw up weird things that you never expected. But again, some of the words that were coming out of that user study were massage, comfort, reflexology. These were words that people were using to describe what it was like to stand on the SENSTEC tray. And so that was a unique side of SENSTEC that nobody expected. But obviously, that's a great thing for people. Something has got to be comfortable to stand on when you're in the shower. So the dimples created the safety. The dimples created the easy clean. And the dimples ended up creating the comfort as well.
That's amazing.
So it created the whole package. And as I say, when dirt and grime, that's what causes the slip in your shower. If you walk in the shower, it's something else you're standing on. And the beauty of when your shower tray starts breaking down, or your shower floor starts breaking down, you start recognizing that that doesn't feel as safe as it once was. And so the apprehension of standing in the shower begins. And so, but with SENSTEC, it doesn't matter. You've always got that confidence knowing that this is always going to be safe. As long as you just wipe it down with a warm water, mild soap and a cloth, that's as easy as to keep clean. I mean, it's back to the highest level of safety.
Wow.
So yeah, quite a unique product.
I was going to say, and built-in benefits that, like you were talking, it's almost like I picture almost suction cups on the bottom of your feet.
It's kind of like that, because that's what the gaps in between the dimples, that's kind of what it creates. That's how your foot is able to adhere in a different way. If it's just a flat surface, then it doesn't really take much for your foot to slide.
Yeah. And like you say, having that built-in confidence, I mean, those moments in the shower. And so having that confidence with somebody that may already have that in the back of their head, that they may have had an almost fall, or, we talk about the 7 red flags. You could have had a couple falls before, but you made it and you were okay. But man, that just puts that hesitancy in your step, which also, leads to another fall.
I often think about that. I often say that when it comes to slipperiness, so the most slippery thing that we think about is ice. Now, we can stand on ice and we can walk on ice. But why is that? That's because we know that it's ice and we stand on it. And when we walk on ice, we will change our gait, we will change our position, our body position, we will change our focus of when we're walking. We'll walk gingerly, we'll walk differently when we're walking on ice. But when is it that we slip? We slip when it's black ice. When we walk out and we see a sidewalk and we think it's perfectly fine, and we walk out there with confidence, and you walk in and the next thing, boom, you're up in the air. And that's because there was something that you assumed was safe and it wasn't. And that's what happens with traditional floors that you think are anti-slip, with traditional showers that you think are anti-slip. You're going to walk in there with confidence and it's going to let you down. But why? Because that surface is breaking down all the time. Obviously, there's different coefficients of friction that you can get, but that can be a high level anti-slip. The minute you start using it, that hot, cold, wet, dry in a shower, it's now, throw chemicals on there. Let's start scrubbing that to get it clean. It's breaking down all the time. And the levels of safety are getting lower and lower and lower, and patchy, depending on where you've scrubbed harder and put your shoulder into it or whatever. It's changing all the time and degrading. So when you walk in that shower, you have no clue how anti-slip or how safe you are, which I think for the most dangerous place in the home is the bathroom, and the most dangerous place within that bathroom is somewhere that's water, there's soap, there's grime, and you're standing barefoot. The shower is the most dangerous place that there is. And so to walk in with SENSTEC and know that you're walking in and you're going to be safe every single time, I think that's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
And can start reducing those numbers that you spoke about right at the beginning of slips and falls.
In Aging in Place, we talk about the wet rooms, right? Anywhere where
Yep.
water's going to appear. The bathroom is hazardous. Healthy people are falling. There's a whole bunch of reasons, for falling. It could have to do with weakened legs. It could just have to do with vertigo. There's a lot of balance things too. But if this is something that is like kind of a no-brainer, like how many times are you showering, in those daily activities, you don't want somebody to kind of push or pull back from their daily grooming because they're nervous about taking a shower. I mean, that's just the quality of life too that you're able to extend and have more confidence in. So I think it's also a dignity thing too. You had mentioned about, and I always try to I nerd out on a lot of things. I know when I heard you speak before, you talked about there's the pendulum test and the barefoot ramp test, just to give people an idea of how significant and differently we're talking about this anti-slip grip that you guys have with these dimples. Could you go into maybe giving us a high level look at a measurement?
So when you obviously to test slip safety, there's numerous tests around the world that you can use, and so the most traditional way in the United States is with a tribometer that tests the coefficient of friction. Now, all these tests have, again, like studies, they can have a little quirk in them, and one of the little quirks of the tribometer is it does not like rough surfaces, and so for as fantastic as the SENSTEC tray is, it actually views it as a very, very slippy surface. And it's just a quirk, as I say, it doesn't like the texture surfaces and doesn't read them properly, so readings end up all over the place. So the tribometer is not really a test that we can use for SENSTEC. So one of the other tests we have, it's called the pendulum test. And the pendulum test is a test, again, it was invented in the United States over 50 years ago. Very little has changed about it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And so you can use the pendulum test. Now, so a pendulum, it's just what it sounds like. It's an arm, it comes down and it hits the surface. The pendulum swings, hits the surface, and the distance that it goes past the surface is measured. And they do that multiple times in different directions to come up with their reading. So with the pendulum test, if you have a reading of 24, a PTV, so a pendulum test value of 24 and under, that will give you a 1 in 20 chance of slipping if you have that reading. And so there's various levels. The top level, the highest level they will go to, no matter what, is if you have a PTV of 36 or over, that gives you a 1 in a million chance of slipping. 1 in a million for PTV of 36 or over. Now, it doesn't matter, technically, it doesn't matter what you are over a PTV of 36. They don't include it, they don't read it, they don't do whatever. But if we bear in mind that a PTV of 36 is a 1 in a million chance, obviously curiosity gets the better of you. And so they kept testing the SENSTEC with the pendulum test. And SENSTEC ended up with a PTV of 48. So that's just off the charts as to how safe that is. But one of the problems with a PTV and a pendulum test is it's a rubber foot that's on the end. when it swings and it hits the surface. So I don't know anybody with rubber feet. So then what we do is we turn to the German barefoot ramp test. Now again, the German barefoot ramp test, or the German ramp test, if you want. I'll start with the ramp test. So the ramp test again is used for different surfaces to test slip value. And what it is a piece of apparatus. It tends to be uh, done like a factory setting. It's a big piece of kit that needs to be used. But they put a sample of whatever flooring that they're testing, and they stand a person on top of it. They're harnessed in so that they can't slip, but the surface is on the flat. Now, with the ramp test, the person has like work boots on, so they're specific grade and everything, but they have work boots on, and the ramp is then they start inclining the ramp, and the person will walk backwards and forwards on that ramp, and they'll actually pour engine oil across the surface. So it's rubber boots and engine oil. That's what they're testing. And so the ramp will start inclining, inclining. When the person slips, that gives them a value. And they will test that multiple times with different people to give them their value and give them their different classes. But again, there's not very much engine oil inside a shower, and we don't wear rubber boots inside a shower. So they have the other type is the barefoot ramp test, and so they take someone the same scenario. It's a slab of whatever they're testing, and if we use the SENSTEC tray as an example, and they soak the person's feet for 15 minutes in warm water, and they stand this person on top of the sample. They're harnessed in, and they start walking backwards and forwards on the sample. Again, they then start inclining the tray. Now, the person on the tray doesn't know how much the angle is, but they just keep doing that, and they walk backwards and forwards until the person slips. And again, they will do that multiple times with multiple people. So there's 3 classes that you could be graded into with the barefoot ramp test. So a class A is if the inclination gets to 12 degrees before you slip. That's a class A. A class B is for 18 degrees. If you get to 18, class B. And class C is 24 degrees. So the highest, but again, like the PTV value of 36, the highest grade they will give you is a class C, which is 24 degrees. So, but when again, curiosity gets the better of them, and they keep going with SENSTEC, and they kept raising the angle, and SENSTEC reached the angle of 30 degrees. Now, I always say, if you can stand on a surface at 30 degrees, can you imagine just how safe that feels when you're standing on it flat? And so it's just that's the best test for a shower tray, because again, and I think I never threw in there, as the person's walking backwards and forwards, they're spraying warm water and soap on top of that surface. So it gives them that barefoot environment. It's a warm, soapy water environment as well. So it mimics real life. We don't have rubber boots, we don't have engine oil. We have warm, soapy water and bare feet. That's how you use a shower tray. That's how you use a shower surface. And so for me, that's the key test for SENSTEC, or for any surface that's in that wet, soapy environment.
Thank you for all that explanation leading into how the barefoot part of it works, because I was thinking, the wet and soapy conditions are just, that's what's adding to it, right? And so
that's the
tested that
contaminant.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, the soap's your contaminant between your foot and the surface. That's what
Man.
creates the slip.
Well, that I love. So that's just fascinating to me. I love understanding all of those different types of measurements that are out there. I love knowing that there's people that's what they're doing in their daily job today
Yeah.
is they're conducting those types of tests with things. So we all have a little bit more knowledge about how to be safe in our home. And that's amazing. So talking about, so the test results are amazing. That just speaks so much volume for the product. What about, so that's the product itself. You're an executive advisor to the British Institute of Kitchen, Bedroom, and Bathroom Installation.
Yes.
What makes the installation standards different for SenseTech? Or, is there, tell us about what that looks like as far as installation standards and when it comes to safety.
So being an advisor with the BIKBBI, again, that's what they've done. Their focus is installation in the UK, and there are connections. Obviously, the issues with lack of trades in the UK is exactly the same as the problems that we have here in North America with the lack of skilled trades. And for anyone that has a product that needs to be installed in plumbing or in kitchens, trades are hugely important. And so I've been part of and a member of the BIKBBI for a number of years now. And so it really came full circle for me to be actually part of that and be on their advisory board. And so it's very important for me from an installation. My experience is from installation. And what they're doing is they're bringing different areas of the industry together: manufacturers, retailers, recruiters, designers, and installers. And they're trying to solve issues within the industry by bringing everyone together. And then, again, there's a great connection between the NKBA, the National Kitchen and Bath Association in North America, and in the UK. And so they're able to share information which can help, one or other solve their problems. So I'm delighted to be part of that, very excited. But again, it's about making sure that I need installers to be able to install SenseTech. I need them to be able to install it properly. But one of the beauties of SenseTech is it's relatively simple to install. It's not like a wet room floor where it's all preparation and bonding and tiling and grout and all this creating angles for drainage. It's all part. It just you bed it in and it's there, and it's one and done. A very simple product to install, but we still need skilled tradesmen to be able to do that. And so rather than just, I have a history of installation, and I've installed more bathrooms than I've had hot dinners. So to waste all that, that would just be wrong. So to be able to use the knowledge I have and be able to advise an institute in the UK that's helping with installation and trying to drive skills forward and raise standards within the industry, I definitely want to be part of that. And so I see the two things combining together. As I say, if we don't have any skilled tradesmen, then I don't know what I'm going to do with my product, because there's not going to be anybody to install it.
Yeah.
And as I say, it doesn't matter what. It's not just my product. There's all sorts of products. Be it putting grab bars, we need professionals to put these kinds of things in. There's so many things that go into. If we just talk about, if we look at a bathroom again, one of the most dangerous areas in the home, but there's so many things that go into there that can really, really help people. But a great product installed badly is a danger. And so we need professionals that actually know what they're doing and can help people and get these things installed properly. And again, when it comes to installation, we need to take it all the way back. We need to take it back to when the houses are being built. And so that when we walk in, if I'm 25 years old and I bought my first place, now, am I as worried about anti-slip? No, probably not, because I feel my balance is quite good. I'm a lot more confident. And obviously, slips and falls happen more often at either end of the age scale. That's just statistics, but it doesn't mean to say you can't slip in the middle. So yeah, I think installation standards and making sure that my house can be adapted as I get older. So maybe in the shower, there's framing and studding behind everything and behind the wall or in the wall, so that if I feel I need a grab bar in there, or if I have an injury and I need a seat to be put in the shower, then there's no issue, because everything's behind the wall and it's all ready to go. And it could be installed professionally and it's anchored professionally because everything's already there. So architects and home builders have got a lot to pick up on to be able to adapt people's houses, not just for the now, but as people age and they get older and their needs change. So again, installation is all part of that, and having professionals that actually know what they're doing,
Yeah.
rather than a DIY and a disaster happening.
And like you say, even builders going through with their checklist of what you're putting in the home, so many of these things are not just given, they're add-ons, they're upgrades.
Yep,
And that's where I'm trying to be so much more through this podcast of just having people have more preventive outlook on all these things, because the knowledge is out there. We just have to be looking for it and understand it and take the time. And I agree with you that to have that already in place, so when it's needed, it's not, ripping up drywall and stuff and redoing everything. It's there, and we're just uncovering it, and then we're putting the grab bar in. So
absolutely.
I'm a huge proponent of that myself. I believe there was a hotel that had taken the initiative and said, we're going to put this in every single room.
So there's in Northern Ireland, there's a number of hotels now
Oh,
in Northern Ireland that have the SENSTEC trays. But one of the first was it was a luxury uh, castle hotel in Ireland that decided to install these trays, and that's really where this North American adventure began for SENSTEC, was because there was a lady who lives on the east coast of the United States in Kennebunk in Maine, and she visited Ireland to go to a wedding and happened to be staying in the Drummelin Hotel. And now she is a registered nurse and a senior safety specialist. And so when she went in, and obviously first day she had a shower, she walked on and stood on the SENSTEC tray, and she just instantly knew there was something different about this, and she'd never stood on a surface that just felt so secure and again comfortable, and that massage effect. And so after using it for 5 days, she was just blown away with it, and so took a picture of the brand, and then went home to the United States and reached out to SENSTEC to see if there was any way of them any way they could purchase this tray. And it just so happened the marketing department picked up and said, "Oh no, no, we don't. Unfortunately, we don't sell in the United States." But just by chance, the owner came across this email and saw the interaction, and so quickly stepped in and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait a minute." So you really, yes, absolutely, we will get you a tray, whatever it takes. We will get this tray to you. And so that's what they did. They organised it all, lots of Zoom calls and whatnot, and emails going back and forward, and they shipped over a tray over to this customer, and she was creating her home again. She was into the aging in place. She was developing her. She'd had her eye on this home for a number of years, and eventually it came up for sale, and she managed to get her dream home. But then she started stripping the home back and developing it to age, so that everything was set for her and her husband as they grew older. And so safety in the shower, she knew, was vital. And so that's what they did. They created this aging in place home and opened the doors to the neighbourhood to come in and see, to learn a bit about what aging in place was. So the owner from Classic Marble, Christopher, went over to see the home and to see SENSTEC in place in the United States. And so that was really where the little light bulb went off in Christopher's head as to, you know what, maybe the United States is a market and people are looking for shower trays over there. Because traditionally, the United States, Canada, it's not shower trays. No, weren't a big thing. You either have your shower in the bath, or you have that zero entry wet room floor style with a curb to create that the shower area. And it's really only the past few years that the popularity of shower trays has been beginning to take off, just from the simplicity of installation. So yeah.
what a great backstory that is from staying in that hotel. That is kind of the birth of the logistics being
Yeah,
created to get it here. That's amazing. Well, kudos to that nurse to do
absolutely.
that. and to open her home up as the aging in place option, and so people can see, because it really is, I know for some people they're not used to hearing that term, age in place.
Yep.
But I think we're going to be hearing it a lot more as the population ages, and as not only we age but we live longer. Lifespan versus health span, and just reducing the amount of things, being proactive, reducing the amount of things that can occur, and the fall is life changing. So again, it impacts not only the person that falls, but also the family. So I love this is opening up a natural transition into, you're a member of the National Aging in Place Council, as am I.
Yep.
And you are going to be you were selected, congratulations, to be a
Thank you.
co-author in their upcoming book, Aging in Place Conversations, the Caregivers Edition. What do you hope readers and professionals alike will take away from your contribution?
Again, we're looking at so it's for caregivers. Caregivers could be professionals, or they could be family members. No, caregiving is imposed on some people, and it's just what happens. And as I say, the other side is professionals. So my area was, I'm focusing on safety in the bathroom, specifically again focusing on the shower, but just really trying to point out all the different areas where there are issues, but also where we can make things just that little bit better. It's subtle things. This isn't about creating a hospital in your home. There's so much design out there that looks fantastic and tucks away and doesn't need to really affect how the aesthetics of your bathroom, but they can absolutely keep you very, very safe. Just SENSTEC as an example. I mean, you need a shower floor. Well, why can't it be a SENSTEC? Because that's going to keep you safe 24/7 for the rest of your life. And so, but it doesn't stand out. It's not screaming and shouting that I'm a big safety object here. It's subtle and it's there and it keeps you safe. And there's lots of things out there that are just like that. They're in the background and they will look after you as as I say, we all become, our movement and everything becomes a little different as we get older, more difficult. And I mean, I can't stand up or sit down without making a noise now. And it's just, oh. So our bodies change and our balance changes. And so it's a different environment we need to live in. But that doesn't mean to say that we can't all live in that environment. As I said, a 2-year-old can use a SENSTEC tray, and a 72-year-old or a 92-year-old could use a SENSTEC tray. I mean, that's what you've really got to aim for, and that's what products now, through design, are aiming for. Can a 2-year-old use this and a 92-year-old use this? Because if they can, that covers everybody. Yeah. And so now, when we start looking at what the design looks like, then it becomes more universal. And so again, so that's really what my chapter was about, was trying to point out the key areas of danger, the subtle changes we can make, and just pointing out that it doesn't have to look medical. It won't look medical. But again, a key note is get a professional. Get a professional to install these things. It's so vital. As I say, you put up a grab bar, you need to trust that grab bar is going to hold you, it's going to support you, it's at the right angle, it's at the right height. It needs someone that knows what they're doing, because if you're trusting that grab bar and you grab it and it gives, I don't even want to think about what will happen. And so it's just really pushing that message of professionalism, but don't be scared to adapt your home. It won't look like a hospital. There are some fantastic products out there, and as I say, safety is for everyone. So it allows your grandkids to come around, or whatever. Your parents could come and stay with you and know that they're staying in the spare room, but they're going to be safe. So anybody wants to adapt their home. So plus, this is again for caregivers, which instantly the mind goes towards, oh, it's someone that's older. It's not. It's for caregiving. They're out there for everyone. And so that message has got to be, people have got to be able to recognise themselves within the message. And that's kind of what I've tried to do, or do my best at anyway.
And I think you are. I was going to say, and this work is clearly personal and deeply meaningful to you, Mark. And I really appreciate your time today sharing all of this, because I think you just summarized it so beautifully. For those listening, how do people reach out to you? We'll also have information in the show notes. But what is the best way if somebody has questions about how to get SENSTEC and this anti-slip shower tray in their home?
So they can visit our website is senstec-usa.com. You can email me, Mark, at senstec-usa.com, or if you're a LinkedIn user, you're a business, you'll definitely find me on LinkedIn. I'm always posting there every single day. So yeah, any of those ways. You know what? Through any form of social media, you find SENSTEC on Facebook, on Instagram, on Pinterest. We're everywhere. We've tried to reduce the friction and make sure if people want to get in touch, they can get in touch with us in the method that they want to.
Well, amazing. And appreciate this so much because my hope is to educate and inform. And I think we did that today and accomplished that through this conversation with you. So again, thank you, Mark, for your time. And for those of you out there, look for SENSTEC-USA. It's at any age. Every shower should be safe. It shouldn't be a hazardous space for anyone. So again, thank you, Mark, and appreciate your time.
No, thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate this. It's been amazing to speak to you.
Thanks for joining me on Not Ready Yet, Curating Conversations for the Aging Journey. If something in this episode gave you clarity or the courage to start an important conversation, or offered a new way to look at things, I hope you'll share it with someone who might need the same encouragement. Remember, navigating aging isn't something we have to do alone or in crisis. With love, logic, and the right tools, we can face what's next with confidence and connection. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review. It helps others find the show. And just a quick note, the information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for medical, psychiatric, legal, or other professional advice. Always consult a qualified professional for guidance tailored to your unique situation. This is Lisa Harper, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.